Good morning from another bloody magnificent day in Johannesburg. Well, my first, I got up here yesterday. Only came up from Durban yesterday. Some business meetings got on tomorrow, and and then this my new idea. Watch out for ripple marketing. It's going to rock the world. This should be interesting. Please God, about time. Yesterday, I wanted to speak on conformity and thinking about it more. On ego, this whole story of ego and self-esteem and narcissism and empathism and fucking all these isms and stuff. Huh? I mean, I just thought, aren't we getting a bit carried away with all this shit? Ego, you mustn't have a big ego. You must watch your ego, destroy ego, get rid of ego. But you got to have a healthy self-esteem. I mean, that's a thing. You got to have yourself, but it mustn't be too healthy because I was pissing people off. People start getting threatened. So there must be a good, healthy self-esteem, but don't go into the space of ego. And then, of course, we've got the narcissists, which I found a lot about getting divorced. I mean, that seems to be the sort of the trigger phrase of divorcees and divorceurs. Is everyone talks about narcissism, and everyone's a fucking narcissist, except the people that are accusing. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to not be a narcissist, but accuse other people of it. But you're an empathist, but the other guy sees you as a narcissist. I mean, getting all so tied up in language. I mean, we're giving meaning to words. We've got all the acronyms and all gender-based violence and all these very inflammatory words, but do we actually understand what these words mean? I mean, going to ego. It's a term, for God's sake. So now on social media, all conscious people, hey man, like you've got to be careful about ego. Hey, I think you've got to build your ego up. That's all you got. That's the thing. The world is not going to do it for you unless you're a loser. If you're a loser, the whole world loves feeling sorry for yourself, for you. But if you're a winner, people get jealous of your shit. And then, he's egotistic because he's narcissistic. All this fucking bullshit, man. Let the people that feel that, let them can rock in their own little boats of sorrow and anger and dismay and anxiety. Build your ego. Be quite cool with yourself. That's all. You've got to do it. You've got to turn around and think you're cool. You've got to think you're free and cool. Not just cool. It's not enough. Not enough. You've got to think you are cool enough that you deserve to make it. And I think that's what this whole thing of ego is. I think we are getting tied up with political correctness and giving credence to situations that are inflammatory and not problem solving. We are no longer thinking about problems. We're not thinking out of the box. We talk about the box the whole time. We throw it around as much as we throw ego. But there is no substance in what we're saying. We are not thinking about the meaning of these words, the implications of these words, and trying a little bit more carefully to define them and how to address them if they need addressing. Just branding everyone narcissist is giving money to lawyers, but that's in one side. But coming into the story of conformity, what do we conform? Is there conformity? Yeah, of course there's conformity, but what do we conform to? And how do we actually decide if we're conforming or not? Well, why would we conform? I think would be the first question. Why do we actually conform? And the reason is probably to make our life easier. I mean, we conform to the state, to law, to government, to religion, different religions, family pressures, peer pressures, business pressures, political pressures, aspirations of self. There are so many things that we are supposed to conform to. So what does that mean? I mean, they did an experiment a little while ago called the Ashes experiment, where they wanted to see just how easily people conform. It's one of those kind of IQ test kind of stories where they give you different tests, multiple choice answers, you've got to choose. And what they did is they had one stick, or drawing of a stick, and then 4 other sticks, and you had to choose which stick was the same length, match the one that was selected. That was the example. And they had 5 people in the test, the one I saw, where 4 were actors and 1 was a plant, 1 was real. So the other 4 were plants. And they started voting, and first of all, they voted for the correct stick for a couple of turns, couple of rounds. And then they were told to vote for the incorrect stick, but the same incorrect stick. And they did, and you see the bewilderment on the face of the target, the person that's actually the experiment's around. And at first of all, the internal battle with their demons because they know it's wrong. And should they give the right answer and should they not? And at first they give the right answer, but you see they're becoming growing more and more uncomfortable as the time goes, until eventually a couple of rounds later they start conforming. They give the wrong answer, knowing it's the wrong answer because they can conform. And they did another one with giving people drugs, giving people supposed drugs, but they just gave them flavored water. Same, 4 were test samples, they were plants, and 1 was given. All of them were given water with, flavored water. And before we're going like, hey man, like you could see colors and stuff. And the first one was saying, I see nothing, I don't know what's wrong, I didn't see anything. And eventually she was like, hey man, I can hear something different. And afterwards they told her that what had happened. And she was still, well, I could really hear it. So the will to conform is so powerful that people will conform to fit in. We just fit in every single day. No, don't make a mission, don't make a statement, don't make a big deal. Just conform, We're told to conform. And then we're told who to conform to. We get something that rubs us up the wrong way or we don't agree with, and then we conform to the system instead of conforming to our own integrity. So we stop conforming to ourselves. We have battles inside us. So what conformity should we, what should we be conforming to? Should we conform to things that are wrong? Well, if we want things to carry on going wrong, because that's what we're doing. We're conforming to the state, we're conforming to corruption, we're conforming to the perspective of how things are being handled. And we're just going on, which means we are no longer being true to ourselves. We conform to the jobs we want to do, or our skill set, because we think that what our actual person, our actual ego is so destroyed by this whole war on ego that you're not allowed to think you're cool, that we think we may be wrong, and we conform to opinions and everything, which affects our careers, affects our relationships, because we're not conforming to someone's wishes. I think this is so dangerous. I think we need to conform to ourselves. We need to sit down with ourselves and conform to who we are. Conform to what our skill sets are, and our outlooks, and our value systems. Conform to that proudly and take ownership of it. And only once we are conforming truly to ourselves do we stand a chance of making the world a better place by having people conform to what is right and good, as opposed to the shortest downhill ride. Have a cool day, man.